Hello and welcome, Blue Rooster podcast. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Special guest in studio here today. The one, the only, writer, director, philanthropist, entrepreneur, all of the above. Charlie Chestnut.
That's you, Mr. Chestnut.
It's very nice to have you here. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. I'm ready for you guys to crack the old chestnut today.
The nut will be cracked. There's no doubt about it.
Let's get to the core.
Well, I'm really glad you came in because all of this technical difficulty we've been having, we haven't been able to upload anything, and you're here to show us how to do that.
Among other things.
Right.
We like to learn. That's the basic gist of this podcast here. And before I start talking to the chestnut and breaking it open, I want to get to Andrew real quick. So I guess you didn't win your Powerball.
I did not. No,
What a
I'm
bummer.
still broke.
Still broke?
Yeah.
And how much did you end up spending? Do you even know? The whole
All
process.
in all, probably about $40.
$40.
Yeah.
You really thought
You
you had a
got to
chance?
play to win.
You thought you had a chance?
No, I didn't think I had a chance. But
Well, why? Why buy them?
one, because whenever it gets that high, you have to.
You just have to go throw your money to the guy at the gas station.
It's a machine. I don't even have to talk to anybody.
How about yourself, Trust Chestnut?
Didn't even play, but I will. One thing that I'm thinking about. We're talking about this lottery. One thing my dad told me once, and I thought this was pretty good. I always kind of keep this in the back of my head. He said, "Life is like the lottery." He said, "You got to be in it to win it." So, in other words, if you stick around long enough, usually all the good things you want to see come your way, that they'll likely happen.
Yeah.
And
I
so
agree. That's a
you
good
took
one.
that advice and decided not to play for the $1 billion. I like the quote. It's a very good quote.
True rebel. You don't listen to your old man.
But I can understand that. I get it.
Every day is a gamble.
I chose not to play either. So
Yeah.
I just knew
I like to gamble with my life.
it ain't going to be me.
Well, let me tell you something. Every time I'm on 376 here in Pittsburgh, I'm taking a gamble with my life.
You don't even have to go to the gas station to
Don't even have
let
to go
them
to
know, hey, I'm heading out.
I don't
Do you
even
have-
have to pay.
Do you
pay
have
to
road
gamble.
rage? I think we touched on that a little bit last week.
Yes, we did.
I've had road rage before, and the only time that I've been put in handcuffs was a result of that, and that's all I'm willing to say about
Okay,
that.
That's
we'll leave it at that.
The nut has officially been cracked. Now, Charlie Chestnut here, you've led somewhat of an eclectic life, I would think. You've had more experiences than a lot of people I know. Everything from living in New York City to coming back and your career and different odd jobs you've had.
Yeah, I would say so. Everybody says, that they'd like to write a book about something that's happened to them or their life story. Everybody feels like, they might have at least one book in them. I can say proudly, I've actually done that. I self-published it, but I did publish a book. It's fiction, but it's largely drawn from my life. A lot of experiences living in New York City for about 7 years. So, yeah, I think my life is interesting enough that I wrote a book.
Now, growing up, high school, we'll just start from the beginning.
Well, let's go back to when you were a baby chestnut.
Yeah,
When
that's what
were
I
you
wanted. When you
born?
were still on the tree,
Well,
before you fell from the tree.
Well, in truth, I'm actually a Buckeye because I was born in Ohio. I was born in the same hospital a week apart from Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers, Findlay, Ohio, in Findlay Hospital. I was born in 1982.
You lost that lottery, too, because he won that lottery.
He won the lottery, but that's not a
I guess
lottery that I
wealth-wise.
would like.
Actually, I'd be more apt to be your friend than his, I think.
I think so.
I think I'd enjoy that friendship much more, but
I'm sure all women would agree.
financially and I suppose athletically, you lost the lottery to him that day.
Yeah, which
But-
is fine.
Very fine, I agree.
I actually, not only do I hate the Steelers, I hate all football teams. I hate all sports. I'm just one of those, I guess I'm a Pittsburgh person, but that's one thing about this culture that I absolutely despise. I think sports are part of the dumbing down of America, and I don't support them whatsoever.
At the end of the day, that's what I don't get about these diehard fans. Like when you're on your deathbed, does it really matter how many Super Bowls the Steelers had?
Well, plus
that just blows my mind.
Well, what's the connection? I mean, people get really into their hometown team, but in all actuality, what is your real connection with them?
There's nothing, but it's something to root. You want your team to win.
Yeah,
It's just like being at war.
just
if you
keeping
think
the
about it.
lemmings in order.
Well, that's actually an interesting parallel. I guess it is kind of like war, but I don't make war. I make love.
Okay.
Andrew.
I get
So love was made, and you became the Buckeye.
I'm a Pisces. It's interesting. My dad told me, who knows if this is true, but he thinks that he can remember the day that I was conceived, and supposedly it was on water. It was on a boat, which is interesting because I love water. I'm a big swimmer. I love all things aquatic, and I am a Pisces.
Now, Mr.
So he
Chestnut,
remembers this.
he was on like a cruise, or
He
just,
claims to remember this, but he
Does
is
he know
also.
what position?
Well, when he says he was on the water, was he on a cruise, or
I don't
just
think
he took the sailboat out and had a little?
But it was a
Little
kayak.
bit to drink.
it was probably like a shitty canoe or kayak
Okay.
or paddle boat or something.
Born on the water. I know there's that Creedence song, "Born on the Bayou," but you were born on the kayak.
Conceived at least.
Maybe
Yeah.
in the shower.
Conceived on the
Conceived.
kayak.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, whenever I first met you, so this is where I'm getting at is like,
Yeah.
you are a genius when it comes to music and anything music. I've mentioned bands that I didn't think anybody knew, and you knew who everybody in the band's name was, which it was impressive to me. How did you get so much into music, and when did that happen?
Well, as a child, a lot of people don't know this because I think I've tried to suppress it, but I was a dancer as a young kid.
What
I did
kind? Like jazz, tap,
Jazz, tap, and all that.
ballet?
No ballet, but apparently I was pretty good. I was really into it, so I kind of had that connection with music. And growing up in a household where my parents were, constantly playing records, tapes, whatever. VH1, MTV were constantly on. My dad would, record music videos. Just put a VHS in the VCR and just record, random videos, and then we watch.
I used
them back.
to do the same thing.
Yeah, and so for me, it wasn't even. It's not even something that I think about. It's kind of like always been there. And to be fair, like I guess that's how some people are with sports. They were just kind of born into that. I was kind of born into music, so it's just it's in my DNA. And Lou Reed once said that, and he wrote a song about it, rock and roll, with the Velvet Underground. He says that his life was saved by rock and roll, and I would say that's definitely true for me. I think I became a serious music fan and really started to explore my own interests whenever I think it was probably the onset of puberty, which is whenever a lot of angst starts to build up and things get a little bit rough.
Chestnuts start doing
Yeah,
weird
the
things, becoming full chestnuts,
Exactly.
growing tap tops.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're getting ready to blossom, and it can be a painful thing. For me, it was kind of it coincided with puberty, like around like 12, 13, with a lot of like anxiety, depression, which I've battled my whole life. But for me, music was the thing that I connected to that I think really showed me that in a sense you can kind of transcend all that. And I think that's true of all art. It takes you to a different plane, and it can speak to you in a way that that other art forms do not necessarily. It's so visceral, and they call it the universal language. I know that's cliche, but it really is true. And
Well, you can feel a lot from a song.
right, and I think
Definitely.
If it's a sad song,
Yeah.
anybody can feel that.
exactly, and I think that for me, I was always very isolated. I've been a loner all my life, but whenever I would put on headphones and listen to somebody, whether it was like that very dark despair in David Bowie's music or whatever, it's kind of like a good friend that's there with you, and you realize that you aren't alone, because music can articulate feelings in ways that words are so limited, but music is it just kind of hits you. You don't even have to know how to speak.
It's physical, I think.
It's physical. It's very physical.
You can feel it in your blood.
Exactly, and that's why people dance.
So you think around puberty, when most strange things happen to chestnuts and humans alike, is when you really got the aha moment with music.
Exactly. It's such a weird thing, that onset of sexuality, because nobody prepares you for that, and then before you know it, all of a sudden you're getting boners in class, and you think
do the tuck. You have to do the tuck.
I don't know if I did the tuck.
That was the worst when the bell rang. You had to tuck it.
I'll tell you this though. I think
sort of.
Because I do weekly therapy, which I enjoy, because even if I don't really need it, I like to go within and sort of explore myself and personal history and so forth. And I've come to a realization. I think for me, the first time that I might have gotten, one of the first times I got truly terrified was the very first erection that I had, because I thought that I had a disorder. Nobody prepares you for that. So for the longest time, I think for months, I thought that I was the only one experiencing this, and I didn't put it all. I didn't put it all together. I thought I was special, and so whenever you're having all this weird, stuff, it happens against your will, and it kind of almost happens, and it happens out of the blue. I remember the first day it happened. I was like, what the? Oh, I remember the very first one, because it shocked me, and I really thought something was wrong. Which has kind of been a pattern in my life, always thinking something's wrong. So, kind of like pathologizing everything.
Do you remember, Andrew, your first boner?
My first boner, no. I was probably getting them when I was like 2.
That happens.
I remember finding porn whenever I was like 3, and I just always looked at it.
That's interesting.
I had it hidden, and I'd always look at it.
I didn't. Wow.
It's interesting that you just remember the first one.
Oh, I remember the girl.
I don't remember.
Her name was Kristen. I won't say her last name, but her name was Kristen. It was in a science class.
So it was influenced.
It was influenced.
The rising of the chestnut.
I don't know if I kind of pieced it all together, what was going on there.
So your first one was in school. The most terrifying boner you could have was...
That would be a nightmare. That's a nightmare.
It was a total nightmare. And like I said, I thought something was wrong. And then whenever stuff started to,
I'd have went to the nurse.
Yeah.
Can you
give me a hand? Help me out with this.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it was so embarrassing, and it's still kind of embarrassing to talk about, but it's just it's part of life, and it's like you don't choose for these hormones to all of a sudden kick in, and like I said, nobody prepared me for that. So
I have a kid on the way.
Yeah.
Do you think when he's like 10, should I give him a heads up?
I think you should.
Yeah.
I think you should. Yeah, I remember. I think I was pretty young. I think I was like 6 or 7 whenever my dad gave me the talk, but he didn't quite explain. I don't know if he explained, at least not well enough, the whole, what's going to happen with your body. Or maybe he did. It totally caught me off guard. So
I don't have like hardly any memories from childhood. Like I have a bad
Really?
memory for one.
Yeah.
But 6 or 7, that I can't differentiate 6 or 7 from 9 or 10.
Yeah, for me it's kind of murky too, and
it's all just young or teenage.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that great, I'm sure, for any of us. So.
Well, did you have any like life-changing experiences in them years? Like, did you ever move to a new place? Like, that's
Not
how.
Really, that's pretty.
Like,
boring,
I moved around
boring upbringing.
a good bit.
Oh wow!
Then you have
like,
landmarks.
Yeah, there's certain times where I could be like,
Yeah.
oh, I was that age.
Yeah, you can.
That helps.
Yes, you can definitely differentiate by events, but I didn't have very uninteresting upbringing, so
yeah,
it's all just
for me. Most
vanilla.
of my events were, I guess,
Boners.
life changing. Well, not only boners, but just like personal things. I was very much kind of in my own head, so like I remember actually verbalizing this I think like to my parents, like it's not that I like longed for all these friends and stuff. It's like I just literally was not interested. Like I was just kind of very secluded, and so I think for me, I kind of found my so-called friends, like I said, putting on the headphones and discovering music. That's why it's so important to me, and I think like at least half of my brain is music.
I agree.
Now, when did you make the decision in your head and the actual decision to follow through with moving to New York, and why? Because you lived in New York City for how long, and when did you leave to go there?
Okay, let's see. I was 20. I moved there in 2004.
Boner 716.
At least.
If we're measuring time.
What part of New York was it?
Okay, so I was just really kind of fed up with.
So it wasn't like a high school decision. You weren't like in high school and was like, I'm moving to New York City someday, because a lot of people have that dream or that thought.
Well, even the first time I went, it wasn't necessarily a dream. But the very first taste that I got of New York City was I went to see David Bowie whenever I was 18 years old. I was still in high school, and I went with a friend. I took an Amtrak train into Manhattan, and we saw David Bowie. And for me, it was very overwhelming, and I didn't have any desire. It wasn't even a thought that I would ever live there.
Did he play it?
He played at the Roseland Ballroom. This was an exclusive show for his fan club, his website members.
And you were still living in the Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
drove to...
Took an Amtrak train.
The whole way? From like Pittsburgh to...
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
you can do that.
That's a story in itself.
Yeah. So, but I didn't have any desire. It was a great show.
You just
but
went there because that's where he was.
That's where he was.
Okay.
And,
Interesting.
Right. But then I went to see him again, and this is sort of touching on why. I know we're going to talk about him later, but like how David Bowie became a huge, part of my life, not just musically but personally. I went to see him again in 2001. And this was a Carnegie Hall benefit for an organization called the Tibet House. So it was just like, I think he did maybe like 2 or 3 songs. But I went for that. I actually won tickets to that show from a David Bowie lyrics competition. So
What was that?
It was actually in a chat room, and they would give you a random lyric, and then you had to, the first person to type in the song, would get a point. And I just,
nice.
I
You
killed
blew
it.
that one away, I imagine.
I killed it.
Was
And
that all off the top of your head? Like there wasn't Google?
Totally no Google. I mean,
Wow.
It was just instantaneous. It was, people thought that I had like a program I was using to cheat, but
How many did you have to get right?
I'm thinking maybe like 25 or so.
Wow.
Maybe less, but so I won tickets to that, and by that time I started to kind of get an interest in New York City. And then he played again in 2002, another exclusive fan club only show. And then I started to really kind of get the bug and just realized that that I needed that energy. And it was somehow for me kind of calming to have constant distraction and just sort of sensory overload in a way was almost kind of calming. So but it is incredible because right around that time, I mean, like I was very anxious, and nobody thought that I was going to do it. And whenever I did move to New York in 2004, I don't think anybody thought that it was going to last.
So, what were you doing in this area at that time? Did you have a job or anything?
Yeah, I was working as a Chinese food delivery man.
in
So
the
this was-
city?
Yes.
Okay, because we don't have that shit around here.
Oh no, here in White Oak,
Oh, really?
in White Oak, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
So you weren't really like weighing the option of, do I leave this very bountiful career?
Exactly.
That had nothing to play in the part.
Well,
but-
that's the thing. There was really nothing kind of holding me here.
See,
And
I've always had dreams to do something like that, move,
Yeah.
go somewhere, but I'm always just tied to, I don't know, I guess just family for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I love my family, but at that point, I needed to get away. I just needed to move out. Number one, I needed to move out of my parents' place, and I needed, I just needed a drastic change at that point in my life. I think I was 21 whenever I moved to New York. I had like a suitcase, got on an Amtrak train, and lived there for 7 years, and did my undergraduate degree there, and
So you did go to school there?
Yeah, went to school there, finished school, and
Did you
had a very
decide to do that before you left? Like go through the application process and everything?
I started whenever I first moved to New York. I did a semester at Hunter College, and I think if I'm honest with myself and looking back, that was just kind of an excuse to get to New York. Like, oh, I'm going to do school there.
Okay.
So that was one semester, and then I waited a while, went back to a very small private school in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and had a really great experience. So my best friends are in New York City. I saw just so many incredible shows in New York City, and the food and just everything about it was an amazing
Just the culture.
Yeah, I basically spent my 20s in New York City, and it was a great way to spend them. And it's weird. I mean, I had the best time, but at the same time, I went back for the first time since I moved back to Pittsburgh. Actually for Halloween, this last Halloween, and I realized that kind of the magic that I felt whenever I lived there was kind of gone, and so I don't have a strong desire to go back. I realized.
It seems I've known you a decent amount of time now, a few years, and
Yeah.
it seems like that. If there ever a town for you, I think that's it. Like when I talk to Andrew, I think like New Orleans. That's a town.
Oh
made
yeah,
for
I
him.
can see that. Yeah.
It's a lot of daylight activities. Sometimes activities that should be done at night. This is New Orleans. That's why I think Andrew. That's a fitting place for him.
I
but
could see him there definitely.
did you feel you? I don't know. I don't say fit in more in New York. Like you weren't.
Yeah.
So
Did you feel at home there?
alone?
I felt at home there, and like I said, even though I didn't feel the same kind of connection to the city this last time that I visited, I felt at ease as soon as the plane landed in it was LaGuardia. I immediately felt at home, and felt a sense of ease, which probably to most people is crazy, because landing in New York City for most people is just like, oh my God, puts people on edge. But I felt very kind of safe and at home.
See, that's how I've been to New York City a couple times, and every time I'm there, I'm just too overwhelmed. There's just way too many fucking people.
Yeah.
Like you can look down as many blocks as you can one way, and the other way, and that's all you see is people. It's just.
I was there a couple times, and I absolutely love it. And you wouldn't think I'd love it because I'm into like the farm life and all that, but it's alive. It's literally alive. That city's alive, and I think it's everything that's great about America. Really, it's everyone's doing their thing and
I think so too.
chasing their dream in New York City.
Yeah.
So you were living in Manhattan.
I lived in Manhattan whenever I first got there. I actually lived in fucking Harlem,
Okay.
of all places.
Did you get a job immediately?
That's right down the street, though, isn't it?
Well, let's see. Harlem is
It's
upper,
like right down the water, isn't
The
it?
coastline?
Is that a coast though?
River
Because
coast.
it's weird how it's shaped.
Well, Harlem. If you take a look at a map of Manhattan,
It's right on the point. Because I used to do a lot of work in Bayonne, New Jersey, which is right across.
Oh, okay.
I guess the bay. Is that what that would be?
I mean, well, there's the on the west side. There's
Sound.
the Hudson, and then you got the East River on the other side. I mean, it's Manhattan's an island. But most maps, it's funny because especially like tourist maps, they don't even show Harlem. It's like so far up, and people kind of still don't want to go there. They say it's people claim it's like completely gentrified and really
Say
nice
it's on
and
the
safe,
upswing,
but
sort of like Irwin.
and maybe it is, but it's still
So it's nowhere near Queens.
no, it's in Manhattan.
That's what I was
Manhattan borough.
thinking of. Was
No,
Queens.
I spent most of my time in Queens. Yeah,
Okay.
I lived in Astoria and Woodside, both great neighborhoods.
And
really
when you
great.
got there, did you immediately get a job?
I did. I was working for a law firm called Sherman and Sterling.
That's-
It's like one of the biggest like global corporate law firms. Yeah.
Because you have to have a job living in New York, correct?
You have to.
Especially Manhattan. It's
I mean, I was
ridiculous.
lucky. I mean, my parents helped, as much as they could, and that definitely made it possible. But yeah, I worked. I got a job immediately. At first, I was part time, and I didn't have huge living expenses because I was renting a room in Harlem, just a bedroom, with this Al Salvadorian family and this fucking cockroach infested shithole, and.
Here's
that
an
was-
ignorant question. El Salvadorian, do they speak English?
They do not, and their English was very, very broken.
Okay. Were they Spanish?
They speak Spanish. Yeah.
Okay. And this particular family
Mhm.
they spoke some broken English?
Yeah.
And where did they work?
Chinese delivery guys.
Yeah. they left the dream. Little did they know.
The guy, it was a couple, and the guy worked for a hardware store in Harlem. I don't know where his wife worked.
See, this I don't understand. So this family, they were probably living in a very small living quarters, correct?
Yeah.
Not making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Why go to the most expensive cost of living places, probably in United States, when
Honestly,
you could go get that job?
Well,
know,
I
the
don't.
outskirts.
Not to get too political, but my guess is, maybe not everything was on the up and up,
Okay.
as is the case with
As
many,
far
many,
as
many people.
identification,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my guess
that's an
because
easy place to blend in.
that's an easy place to do it. I mean, every morning I would see on the corner, maybe 15, 20, Mexican immigrants, just waiting, likely undocumented, just waiting for a truck to come by, to hire a couple of them to do like odd jobs,
For
just
the
do
day.
work for the day. Yeah,
Okay.
under the table. So, you can get away with it there. I think that's what it is. It's a great city. It attracts the best of the best. It also attracts the worst of the worst.
And how do you make friends in such a big city? You said some of your best friends,
Yeah.
or your best friends are.
Well, I actually, I made a couple of friends in college, but most of my friends were already my friends before I moved to New York, which made it a lot easier. And that was part of the appeal of moving there.
And they live there, you mean?
Yeah, they lived there. And again, this was, going back to Bowie. I knew a lot of fellow Bowie
Okay.
fans. Two of my best friends are big Bowie fans. So there was this really strong kind of community built around, Bowie fandom.
As far as New York City, some of the highs, the lows, and everything. Like specific highs, were there lows where you were like, "This isn't for me"?
Yeah. You tend to forget those those
Not today.
days or weeks, but
You can remember your first
Oh my
boner.
God.
but you can't remember the lows.
well, that's
to
the
the
thing.
lows.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of suppressed. Well, I mean, I was mugged once. It was an attempted mugging in the elevator in my building. This was in Harlem, and I had zero, cash on me. So they actually gave me back my. They were really nice. They went through my. Okay, so I'm in the elevator, and the one guy gets me in a headlock, and I start laughing because I'm like, "What are you fellas up to?" So the one guy has me in a headlock, and the other one digs in my pocket, gets my wallet. They take a look inside. There's nothing in there, as is usually the
Not even
case.
The
credit cards?
cockroaches from the El Salvador house.
I guess you know what. There probably wasn't like a credit card or a debit card in there, but they were. I guess they didn't want to
of
bother
value
with
to
that.
them.
Nothing
Okay.
of value to them. So they so we're in the elevator. It gets to my floor, and the doors open. I'm still in the elevator.
You're laughing still?
I'm
Or is it-
freaked out beyond belief. I have no idea what to think. So they close the doors, go back down to the ground level, and they go, "April Fools, nigga," and run out of the building. And
That's just because you had nothing, I'm guessing, right?
yeah, because I had nothing. So they're like, "Oh, we were just kidding."
Somebody already got this bitch.
Yeah.
They were very nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's-
that was kind of. I mean, that was one of my first experiences in the city. So I kind of passed. I guess I passed that test.
Yeah.
I wanted to be there bad enough that didn't deter me.
As far as lows, I mean, like, were there any times where you were like, "I'm lost. Why am I here? I want to go home"?
I'm sure that happens to everybody, though.
Yeah, but you're not in that
Never.
atmosphere.
I don't think I ever seriously considered it, but to a large extent, living in New York can kind of be a struggle to some degree every day. Um, I'm sure those thoughts did cross my mind, but I never really seriously.
How about highs? Were there
Thought about
anything like experiences that happened there that no
Oh my
chance
God.
in hell could happen here?
I mean, honestly, there are so many I wouldn't know where to begin.
Mm-hmm.
Just unbelievable.
Are those mostly based around like some of the amazing performances you've seen?
Yeah,
or
amazing-
just everyday
Amazing
occurrences?
performances. A lot of the greatest moments were just like really strange and bizarre things that happened. Going to school there, was amazing.
Working at 30 Rock.
Yeah, I worked in NBC. That was amazing.
Now, just to familiarize everyone, you worked at the front desk at 30 Rock or something along those lines?
I worked at the facilities help desk. So, like, whenever one of the studios or office executives or whatever, like, needed something building related, I would create a ticket. It was more, I mean, it's kind of, I guess, a customer service related position, but like, let's say the Saturday Night Live studio had like a blown out bulb, I would send the electricians, or if there was a fire alarm, you contact the electricians or whatever.
Now, the Saturday Night Live performers, did they have to walk by you to get to work every day?
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of a cool thing. Like, we had this really big cafeteria, really nice cafeteria, and sometimes you would see them in there. I'll never forget one day, Seth Meyers came in, and he just kind of took a quick look around, and got this really sour look on his face, like this food just was not good enough for him, and just walked out. And
Like smug?
smug. He strikes me as smug. He does. I'm not a fan.
Huh.
Did you happen to see LCD sound system?
No, and I would have loved to. By the way, James Murphy is on the new Bowie record.
Really?
Yeah, he does some percussion. But no, I never saw them. I would have liked to.
Because that was one of the bands that I mentioned to you. I had no idea anybody knew.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that's so and so and so and so. I don't even know their name.
Yeah. I would have loved to have seen them, but yeah, I think they're broken up now.
So, moving along, what was it? Why'd you come home?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I lost my job at NBC, and I had just graduated.
Lost as in laid off, or did something that warranted?
I was a whistleblower, as I have been my whole life, and
Okay.
it just didn't.
Didn't sit well with
It didn't sit too well.
Interesting.
But in hindsight, maybe it was time.
Did Seth Meyers get you fired?
he did not. He did not. No, I guess ultimately I got myself fired. So I took that pretty hard, and I had just graduated, so I was feeling pretty optimistic about the future, because I was like, well, now I have at least a degree under my belt, which I didn't have before. So I felt optimistic, and then I got a job.
In New York City?
Yeah, in New York City after the NBC fiasco debacle, and it turned out that this job, it was like a teaching job. It was very strange, but anyway, it was a scam, and I never got paid, and it turned out the whole thing was a front.
Wow.
And it was just really kind of mind blowing. So there were like a lot of, I think the universe was kind of telling me, maybe wrap it up or take a break.
What were you teaching?
I was teaching different subjects. This was actually a program for like LPNs to become RNs, and
Wow.
And so there was like a general studies component to this, and I guess I would have been teaching writing and so forth, but. I was there for like 3 weeks, and I was recruiting people, and I had no idea I was recruiting people into a scam.
In
So-
the pyramid scheme to
Yeah,
take your
yeah.
position.
Yeah, so this woman that was running this whole thing, she was eventually arrested, and she's now, actually I looked her up. She's running a basically another scam. She has like a Christian organization for women that have been in
They
prison.
have lots of money. They have
well, yeah.
lots of money to
That's
give.
the thing. I mean, now she's turned
She's
to
in the
God.
right
Yeah.
set of goals in life.
It's a good. Well, that's it's a business. It's a scam.
So after that, you didn't take another job. You said it's time.
Yeah. I mean, there were.
And how long after the end of your last job did you stick around, or was it immediate? I'm out of town. I imagine it's not very easy to live in New York without income.
Yeah, I don't think it was all that long. I was getting unemployment, and I was getting pretty good a pretty good rate of unemployment. So I wasn't totally in dire straits, but I definitely panicked. And my dad had health scare, and I guess that I just felt overall that it just felt right to kind of come back. Not that it was totally easy. I mean, I missed New York, and I kind of resented it, and definitely had second thoughts. But I'm kind of at the point now. You were saying John, you're kind of like a farm person, and I've kind of like done a complete 360. And like now, my fantasy is to like live in a cabin in the woods. In fact, there's a really great do either of you guys do Tumblr? It's like one of these. I guess it's a social media.
I don't use it, but I'm familiar with what it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was like a yoga.
No.
I'm sorry.
It's actually the opposite of
Okay.
yoga, really. But Tumblr,
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's mostly people
an
posting
app.
pictures. Yeah, you can get it as an app, but it's TUMBLR, Tumblr. And there is a Tumblr, I guess, blog or whatever, Tumblr page called Cabin Porn. And it's just really beautiful, charming pictures of like just beautiful, a lot of them rustic cabins, some of them very modern, just all different kinds of cabins. And I love that so much. They put out a book. I bought it on Amazon called Cabin Porn. It is a beautiful, beautiful book. I recommend it to anybody. If you can get your hands on it, get that
So there's
book.
not naked ladies in it.
There are
in the
no
cabin.
naked ladies in
It's
there.
like-
The
So it's
porn-
like food porn.
Yes.
Okay.
right,
That's what I'm
right. It's
thinking.
like it's kind of like food porn, and it's really
boring.
beautiful. But that's kind of my fantasy now is the complete opposite, is to just kind of
Yeah, that's
retreat.
a different end of the spectrum from New York City.
Yeah, it is.
What do locals call New York City? Like,
The city.
the city.
Yeah,
Okay.
and most people that live in Manhattan don't consider the other boroughs New York City generally, but even though they're all New York City, but people refer to Manhattan generally as the city. I don't know. I guess it's like an elitist.
Okay.
Well, is that where Market Square is?
Union Square?
What's the one with all the signs?
Oh,
Times
Times Square.
Square.
Times Square.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Is that Manhattan?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Midtown Manhattan.
I smoked weed there.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right in the streets.
Well,
I ate mushrooms there too.
I believe it. I mean, especially in Harlem. I mean, I would see people smoking crack on their stoop.
He did that too.
Really? But yeah, I had some good weed in New York, no doubt.
Now, so you leave New York,
Yeah.
you come back, and what's going through your mind?
What was going through my mind basically is what's the next stage of my life. So I had that degree, and I was considering graduate school. I'd actually applied at NYU, and I think I got in, or maybe I didn't even complete the application process, but I was gonna do a master's, I think, in like technical writing at NYU. And so I was definitely thinking about, it was like a definite going to graduate school. So I looked at schools around here, and I ended up going to Seton Hill and did like the teaching track to become a teacher, secondary education. And I did very well. I was very successful up until my student teaching experience. I had a really bad experience. Just didn't get along. Like the teacher that they paired me up with was, in my opinion,
You can
just
say
a psychotic cunt.
Okay. So you blew
She was a
another
cunt.
whistleblower experience, sort of.
I don't know if kind of. I mean, it was a weird confrontational thing, but I wouldn't say I was a whistleblower per se. But it was just, and I think the whole experience, unfortunately, you don't really know until you start doing it. So in my student teaching semester, I just kind of realized this is not for me, which is a very expensive lesson, but a valuable lesson nonetheless. So, yeah.
So we'll fast forward and get to your current
Yeah.
job.
So I went from considering being a like a high school teacher to going into the porn business,
Sort of like
porn and sex toy
from
business.
New York City to a cabin.
Exactly.
Big jump.
My life is has just been a lot
Revolving
of extremes.
door.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of extremes.
Did you seek out this job, or did it?
No. I mean, I'd always been interested. I mean, I've always had an interest
In the arts.
in sex,
Mm-hmm.
and
Since that first boner.
since that first boner, I went from being extremely scared of that to pretty open and comfortable with with sex. So, my undergrad degree is in English, and I think one of the things that I am completely confident that I can do well is write. So I was looking for a writing position, and I found. I found a couple of possibilities, but none of them paid anything. I mean, it just wasn't doable. So I found this data entry job for this adult company. They're an online, basically a retailer. They're more than just an online retailer, but it's an adult company. They sell adult products, sex toys, porn, you name it. And they had an opening for data entry, but it did involve a good bit of writing, basically writing reviews, blurbs, and so forth for the catalog for the website.
Where do you find a job listing like this?
Craigslist,
Yeah?
which is I have found many things on Craigslist, from hookups to apartments, jobs. Craigslist it's a good thing.
Okay.
Did you ever have like a bad experience with Craigslist? Like I always hear horror stories from Craigslist.
Let me think. I mean, I've sold stuff on Craigslist. I think I might have maybe even bought a few things. Bad experience.
That's like you go to meet
No.
somebody and you're like, oh shit, I'm in a fucked up situation right now.
No.
You're
No?
not Craig.
No. No. That fortunately has never happened. No.
Oh.
But the job was found. How does the interview go for that kind of job?
Yeah, because
Do you
it's
take a
internet based. So is it like over the phone, over the internet?
No. I mean, it was at the company.
So it's a local company.
It's a local company, and yeah, I just met them there in the conference room, and there was really nothing unusual about it. They just made sure that I was comfortable with that. Yeah, made sure I was comfortable with that material, and yeah, it was and really once you get over sort of the novelty and the shock of working with very explicit content, it just becomes like any other job.
Huh.
There are a lot. I mean, it's boring.
Yeah.
It's
I
boring.
can see that being boring.
Yeah, it is. And frankly, you realize pornography itself is pretty boring. And
Their problem, as the actors, I would imagine, are the same way.
yeah,
Gotta
yeah.
go to work.
And you
This
see
is
so
my
many of the
job.
same faces in the movies, and I'm more interested in the novelties aspect of it, like the toys and the lubes and all that. Like I find that more interesting.
Pussy jelly.
Yes.
They actually they have something called pussy juice, which is it's a lubricant that supposedly I need to try this, but
So
supposedly
you don't get to test any of the stuff.
you can actually if you request to test something, you have to write a review and then they'll give it to you.
What
For
about
free.
pocket pussies? Or what do they call that?
They
Fleshlights?
sell so
Fleshlights.
many fleshlights like pocket pussies. They are hugely popular.
Have you tried one?
I have.
Is it? What do you
I
think?
have. I mean, it's just like a dead piece of meat. It's it's like, I mean, basically, it's the type of thing like
Opposed to a live piece of meat.
it's the type of thing where like it seems like, oh, this might be a good idea, but like kind of during and especially after, you're like, what the fuck
Very
happened to my
shameful,
life?
yeah.
Very shameful.
I could understand
It's
that.
like, and it's a whole fucking process too, because you take the fleshy part out of the fleshlight and you soak it in like hot water to get it warmed up, to get it more
I was gonna say,
lifelike.
is there a heating element in it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I think that'd come with a lot of shame.
Yeah, and then you put it back in, and then you lube it up, and then you have to clean it, and it's just, and then you have to powder it because it's like,
A lot of
to
maintenance.
keep it's a lot of maintenance.
What's the new product you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
lovely Stacy.
Oh,
Bringing beers.
perfect.
Thank you.
Stacy just brought us more beer. Bless your heart, Stacy.
We're talking about pussy juice.
So pussy juice is a lube that supposedly smells like a vagina.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Like I don't know. Every vagina smells different.
they do, and I've been very lucky. For me, I've never encountered what they call, I guess, bad pussy.
Huh. Lucky you.
Yeah, yeah.
So this juice, do you think it comes in different like scents, like
No.
like raw salmon and flower patch?
Salmon. Oh.
Well, there's a lot of different smells to that area,
Cocoa butter.
so I don't know how someone could isolate one specific smell and say this is what it's gonna
Yeah.
smell like. And
You know what?
I mean,
guessing.
are we talking this? We could do flavors
Yeah.
from like New York City late at night to
Harlem.
Hot.
fresh,
Hot after the gym.
hot 1987 Chevy Cavalier with no air conditioning.
Ugh.
There's
There-
one standard.
There's
I
one standard,
suppose.
but I'm guessing that a lot of the guys that use this pussy juice have never actually experienced a real vagina, so I don't think that they would know.
Shame.
I'm imagining that
Shame.
we'd be very overwhelmed by the amount of.
Shame.
I think everyone would probably be overwhelmed by the amount of product that's flying off the shelves.
It's
correct?
amazing. You should see our warehouse. The warehouse is in Warrendale. There was recently like a big industrial fire up there, so.
A lot of burnt plastic.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, luckily we weren't really affected by that, but yeah, whenever you see it, it's incredible, and you just realize what a huge industry.
Oh, it's a huge
this
business.
is. It's unbelievable.
Isn't porn one of the biggest?
Yeah, I think porn makes altogether probably more than mainstream.
Mainstream what?
Mainstream movies, I think I've seen the statistics on that, and I think the porn industry makes more altogether. I mean, they probably pump out a lot more product too, and they have less production costs and so forth. But
And it's expensive. Like I've been to a porn shop. It's not, and nothing's cheap.
No,
You're paying top dollar.
Yeah, the markup is incredible, and like with the sex toys, you have to pay a lot of money to get something of quality. Most of it's junk, frankly.
Now with you said you would do reviews.
Yeah, reviews. I mean, a lot of them weren't so much, not so much reviews as just kind of like write-ups.
Like a description.
Yeah, descriptions, right? Yeah, for the catalog, for the website.
Do you have any like good ones, like, or were you pretty
Oh,
straightforward?
I'm actually very proud of a lot of them.
Is there anywhere we could see your work?
AdultEmpire.com. You can look up the PDFs of the actual paper catalog, or request a catalog. And then I've also done some of the like write-ups on the website itself. Yeah, AdultEmpire.com.
After you write a review, does it say like by Charlie Chestnut?
No, it doesn't have a byline or anything like that.
So you'd
which
have
is
to
probably
let us
a good
know
thing.
which ones are you.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I like about it is that it keeps me. It does keep me creative actually, because it's very difficult to say something new about porn, because I mean it's so much of the same, and you can only there are only so many words you can use for cock and pussy and fucking and ass, tits, whatever.
You gotta get
So
creative.
you got to get creative.
So all right, say we're watching a porn
Mhm.
with one dude, one Asian guy,
Mhm.
and 5 Mexican Latino women. What would you write
It's
for that?
set. I'll give you the setting. We're gonna be at a abandoned roller rink.
Okay.
Bright lighting,
Disco ball.
an old one, but it's in service somehow magically for this shoot. Now, go for it. Write a review.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do a blurb.
Okay. Should we name these people, or you want to name them? At least.
Well, I mean, yeah. Usually you'll say who's in it. Okay. So
Mr. Magato is the Asian guy.
Okay. Okay. Off the top of my head. Okay. So Mr. Magato. Mr. Magato is looking to dip his crispy egg roll in a heaping helping of
duck sauce.
Okay, so it's Latino women's
Sriracha.
Of sriracha flavored duck sauce. As he pounds that pussy like a pro. It was an abandoned
roller rink. Yes.
In the abandoned roller rink. This roller rink hasn't seen this much action
since YMCA was a hit.
Since mustaches were I don't know, all over porn.
Off the cuff. Excellent. I'm buying. I'm buying what you're saying.
You're technically
Not
just
my best work.
writing what you read on the back of the box.
I mean,
people don't really buy porn DVDs or VHSs anymore. It's all internet, correct?
Well, actually, people do buy DVDs. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable how many people do, and
that blows my mind.
A huge chunk of the clientele, are in their 80s. Like a lot of customers around like 87 or so. So they might not be on the internet. And then there are just collectors who just want to have the hard
Always
product.
Forget about
you know what
that.
I mean? It's kind of like some people like download their music.
But is it ever really changing? Like porn's porn. Porn isn't really changed.
Well, I think that a lot of the sexual acts and the fetishes that are portrayed in the scenarios do kind of change, and they kind of reflect whatever. A lot of times, I think it reflects sort of maybe a dark aspect of the psyche or society. Right now there's a huge interest in like granny porn. The transsexual thing is huge. Transsexual porn, and the transsexualism, I guess, is that's a hot topic in society right now. So that's big in porn right now, and you see. Just like really depraved stuff. Everything's anal. I mean, everything is about the anus now. And I don't know what that says about us, that we're so bored, or I
You
don't
think
know.
That's what it is? Like porn's almost nothing anymore. It's just regular porn.
Yeah, it's not good enough for people. The truth is, I think that at least 90% of this porn is disgusting, depraved. I don't think that it's necessarily morally wrong. I don't want to see it censored. I'm not for that, but I don't think that porn is necessarily creating so much of the problem. I mean, it may for some people, but I think that porn, like any other, if we want to call it an art form, is really an expression of what's going on in people's heads and what's going on in society. So if you see a lot of this violence and sex, I think that says something about people.
I agree 100%. I feel like the act of anal is almost like an act of aggression.
It's a very angry act.
An act of control.
Which is why I don't even want to necessarily get in depth into talking about homosexuality. But like with homosexual men, I've never understood. I just to me, it's kind of a shame to kind of say, you know what, I think I'm gonna give up on pussy completely. I think I can't imagine that, because the anus is not designed
for entry.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say design, if you believe in the concept of design, it's not necessarily designed for entry or pleasure. And to me, it's one of the most redeeming, beautiful things about sex is that hopefully you're engaging in a mutual exchange of pleasure simultaneously. So. But then again, I mean, there are a lot of people that
some
will
girls
say,
like anal.
Well, and a lot of guys like it too. They like the prostate stimulation, I guess. but it's just it's very hard for me to grasp, I guess. So, but again, it's not a for me it's not a moral issue. It's just I guess what I'm trying to say is whenever you're inside of a woman and experiencing that, for me, that is just one time whenever you're like, there has to be a God.
I believe that's what Mr. Magato said.
That's what
And
I mean,
hot lights at the roller rink.
all right, so I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm a big fan of pussy. I don't understand how people could not be into it, but that is the case. And
I never looked at it that way, but
yeah, that's just
yeah,
that's the case.
I mean, but you also got to think of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of women that obviously women don't have a cock to put inside a woman, but
According to some of the movies he's reviewed, I disagree.
Well, the
yeah, but
strap-on thing is huge.
they're still, yeah, but she's not getting any pleasure
Right.
from that.
Well, that's the thing, and then that gets into like what is pleasure? Like, is it just a tactile, physical thing, or is it the psychological and emotional aspect of it too?
Like the music thing. The music is physical, but also psychological.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, and music is very sexual too, or at least it can be. Depending on the artist. So I think that what I'm getting at here is different strokes for different folks.
That makes sense.
I remember
It's
that
whatever
movie.
you're into.
That was a
Whatever
good
you're
one,
into,
too.
and people have. I mean, some of the fetishes and these different niches in porn are really interesting. It's kind of opened my eyes. If you can conceive it, it's been done. It's being done, and there's not just a couple of people, but probably a sizable audience for that particular fetish. And I think that that's fine. I think anything between consenting adults, fine.
What kind of porn are you into, John?
I like straight, just man and woman. Maybe a little bit of romance, even. I don't like any aggression.
Hey, listen, yeah. I don't like.
I don't
it
like
either.
more than two people at once.
Yeah.
I'm not into the girl and girl, honestly.
I'm gonna give it.
Just
And I'm sorry to cut you off, John, but I got
Go
to
ahead.
while it's in my head, I got to give a shout out to probably my favorite porn company. See, I like the true amateur, not just like amateur, like produced by a company. I'm talking about like homemade.
homemade.
All right, that's what I like. But in terms of the studios, there's a studio called AbbeyWinters.com. Abby Winters. Shout out to Abby Winters.
Okay, I'm writing that
They
down.
make some of the best porn. It's like, first of all, they claim they're real couples, and they'll tell you like how long they've been together. And like it's like real natural lighting, not this nasty kind of lighting, and like just like natural looking women. None of these boob jobs or like the slutty makeup or anything like that. And it's just like it's not like aggressive. It's not.
It's real.
It's real. It's real, and the women look real, and like the guys aren't all nasty and like looking like Ron Jeremy. So, that I think you should look at that.
If that's what I like,
It's
what I
a
would
lot
like.
of girl on girl, but then they have this series called Girls and Their Boys, which is just couples, and it's good.
Well,
I'm into the couples.
Yeah.
What celebrity has the best porn?
Like a sex tape, or like
sex tape. What was
Oh.
the best sex tape?
I think the biggest selling one, or at least the most popular, is the one with Ray J and Kim Kardashian.
So that was the best.
I guess I don't have much interest in that. On a kind of almost like morbid curiosity level, I really enjoyed seeing Tanya Harding. I don't know if that made it to a tape, but it was. I kind of enjoyed that. I don't know. I kind of have like I don't know if it's a fascination or a fetish with kind of like trailer trash, but which is, by the way, like a genre, trailer trash porn.
Oh yeah.
I have a fascination with like white trash and hicks and just like.
That's because you want to be in a cabin.
Exactly. I got cabin fever.
Let's change gears, I think.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Now, Charlie, you are a believer in meditation and a practicer
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
So you set aside how long every day?
Okay, so the type of meditation that I practice is transcendental meditation. And I first heard about transcendental meditation. I mean, I think I may have heard, like, the Beatles kind of made it very
Maharishi,
right. Yeah. Kind of popularized it in the 60s, but yeah, I practice transcendental meditation. We call it TM. Um, TM is basically they it's not necessarily a spiritual thing. It's not a philosophy. It's not a way of life. Um, you know, atheists do it. Religious people do it. All different kinds of people do it. It's a mental technique to transcend the mind, to transcend thought, to completely make the mind still and go within, and just enliven the self. It relaxes the body. It's a highly it's been studied in a scientific manner by many universities and so forth. There are many published peer-reviewed studies on the many benefits of transcendental meditation. Now, you don't go into doing transcendental meditation to take care or deal with any one particular problem. You just do it. It's not like you focus on anything. It's not.
That's like the opposite of the point.
That's
right?
the opposite of the point. Yeah, it's to basically go within, transcend the mind, and just experience that self, which they say, has always been there, always will be. That true essential self, and just kind of enliven it. And the benefits for the mind and the body are incredible. The American Heart Association said that regular practice of TM can cut your risk for mortality from heart disease in half. So there's like no drug out there that can claim to do that. So it just has incredible benefits. I mean,
you do it every day.
Yeah, you do it every day.
Without fail. I mean, you personally.
Yeah, I have missed.
Today?
I did not, because I basically rolled out of bed. But
Okay.
I will make sure I get in my first meditation and then do a second meditation.
Try to do it twice a day.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how long per session, or is that just all relative?
20 minutes each meditation, twice a day. So
Can you lose track of time while you're meditating?
Yeah, time kind of disappears, almost like you don't really think of time, and hopefully, the deeper and deeper you go, you don't think so much about anything. But at the same time, it's important to emphasize you don't try to stop thoughts either, and that's why a lot of other forms of meditation are difficult for people, because it's about thought stopping. This is a mantra form of meditation. You silently, in your head, repeat this mantra, which it's almost like they call it reverse hearing. So instead of hearing the sound and having it come into your ears and be processed, you're almost doing it kind
in
of
your head.
Right. And so
You can pick your own mantra, or is there
no,
a set mantra?
it's assigned to you.
Oh,
It's assigned
okay.
to you based.
So
it's just
on,
like any other meditation.
Well, it's definitely, it's not like any other meditation in that.
Well, as far as the mantra goes, like
Oh.
somebody gives it to you.
Yeah, somebody will give you a personalized
Is it like
mantra.
a hum, or is it a sound?
It's a sound. It's not the sound should not have any meaning. So it shouldn't be like, if you meditate on the word, like Maharishi, who brought this technique to kind of popularized this technique and standardized it and brought it to the West. He used to say, like, if let's say you use a mantra like pencil, well, inevitably you're going to think about that pencil, and the whole idea is to transcend the thoughts in the mind, go deeper. So it's not contemplating anything, and it's not, at the same time, it's not stopping any thoughts either. It's just returning to this mantra. It's almost kind of like an anchor that just pulls you down deeper. So you return to the mantra very effortlessly, and without fail, it works every time. Whether you believe in it, whether you think it's going to work or not, it just me personally, I go deep every time. I mean, it works. It just works.
So you can't teach yourself. You need an instructor.
Yeah, it's a very personal thing. You have to really do it one-on-one, because it's just such a subtle thing. They'll even admit the TM organization, that it's like ridiculously simple, and that's part of why it needs to be one-on-one, because that concept is really difficult for us. In our society, especially, where you have to try to get to some place. You have to earn, it's almost like you have to earn relaxation or earn pleasure and work for it and work hard for anything of value. So this idea of effortlessness, it's very, very subtle. It's a very subtle thing. So yeah, it is important to work with the teacher and get your proper mantra and know how to use it.
Well, can you say, so you have to sign up for courses and such.
Well, it's 4 days in a row, maybe like an hour and a half each day.
So say you're not willing to do that. Is there any benefit to just meditating on your own and trying to figure it out, or you just never get there?
Well, you're not really trying to figure anything out per se. I mean, I guess you could certainly attempt. There's so many different kinds of meditations that you can do. This is just one technique, and this one
okay.
has just been consistently scientifically validated.
Well, how do you know if you're meditating? Say you just go with the mindset, I don't really have time to go do that. I just want to take 20 minutes out of my day and just clear my mind and get right with myself. So you sit down. Hey, number one, do you have to be sitting, or can you be in any position you want? Can you lay down?
No, you're not. It's very easy to slip into sleep whenever you meditate. So it's important. The recommended way to do it is sitting in a chair or sitting in a bed. I mean, just
what
sitting.
About the Indian style cliche?
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that if you want, but there are no real rules or anything. It's not like you have to, burn incense or sit a certain way. I mean, you can be slouching. You can be, sitting up straight. That's it. It's inconsequential.
And then, how do you know if you're meditating, or is that a very ignorant statement?
No, I don't think it's an ignorant statement. I think that you know that you're meditating whenever you've got your eyes closed, you're sitting there, and you're doing your mantra.
Okay.
You're doing it.
All right.
And you're not this is important. You're not trying to create a mood. It's not like mood making. And you're not saying to yourself oh, I'm going to get to this relaxed state and then I know that I'm there. That's trying to get somewhere. That's trying. And the whole idea is to not try. What you try to do is next to nothing.
So shutting off.
Not necessarily shutting off, kind of going into almost like a trance or a zombie-like state. Just going deeper, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I've always been curious about the meditation and all. So it's good to have a little bit of information, background, intro.
Yeah.
Small intro. Let's get on to, I would say, your favorite topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably.
Mr. Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah. Just name one.
That's true. Yes, I could have won.
What was your favorite name? Or what was your favorite alter ego that he had?
Favorite alter ego. I actually liked it right whenever he dropped all the alter egos and he moved to Berlin and was just kind of I'm David Bowie now, and I'm kind of low profile, and I kind of liked it whenever he dropped all that, to be honest.
Can you name all of his names?
That's actually a very interesting question. I mean, I could, I can. I mean, however, in my opinion, I think that the media and maybe even the fans kind of created this mythology and that he was all these different characters. I don't know that he, okay, let's start with Ziggy Stardust, right? A lot of people think of David Bowie as Ziggy Stardust. Now, I don't know that he necessarily was playing that character, and if he was playing that character, it was a very loose character because there wasn't much background on who this guy was. The album itself, I mean, I guess you could say it's a concept album, but there's no real story there. It's almost like people created this mythology and
it's like a fictional rock band, I guess, is the consensus, right?
Yeah. I mean, Ziggy and the Spiders from Mars. Yeah, it's definitely.
Well,
but the story is very loose, and the character, supposed alter ego. I think that was largely constructed by the fans and by critics, and then he became, they say, the Thin White Duke. Well,
Right.
That was just taken from a line on the album Station to Station, and I don't know that that was necessarily a character per se or Aladdin Sane, and really, you could say maybe those are the only two characters that he played were maybe Ziggy Stardust and Aladdin Sane, and beyond that, I mean, it was pretty much just.
People just assumed that he was Ziggy Stardust, but
from
his perspective, that
yeah,
may have not even been the case.
Right. I mean, he didn't come out and say, "I'm Ziggy Stardust," and like, "I'm going to tell you a story," and
I've
like,
also,
this is my character.
I've heard that Ziggy Stardust, the song, he's referring to Jimi Hendrix. Have you heard that theory?
I've heard that theory.
He played it left hand. And
yeah, I think so, and I think
do
it's
you
about
buy into that? Do you think that's another creation from just people taking what they take from a song?
Yeah, I think that that's created by people, but you never know with Bowie. I don't think he would ever tell you exactly what he meant.
That's something I love about him is never
Very
let
quiet.
you in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that. I think it's possible, but I think that basically Ziggy Stardust is like his take on the archetypal, sort of like tragic, dead. What was it, like the 27 Club or something? Like all these rock stars that died at 27. Just kind of like the tragic, mythical rock star kind of character. And
that's what I think is so amazing about him is like he can just decide on what he wants to make, what kind of album he wants to make, and he'll make it. Like Ziggy Stardust, the Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust happens to be like maybe my favorite album of his, and I always think like if an alien came and said, "What's rock and roll?" I think I'd give him that album and say, "This is rock and roll."
Yeah. Well, it's like the thing that's cool about the Ziggy Stardust thing is that it's kind of a rock and roll album, but about it's very meta, almost like metaphysical. It's kind of like a rock and roll album, but it's not really a rock and roll album. It's about rock and roll, which is interesting. That's kind of what Bowie did. Is he kind of used rock and roll. Rock and roll was just one aspect of.
But it wasn't just rock and roll for him.
No, exactly.
Either.
That's right.
Almost like any genre that came about, he took it and did his way.
Yeah. He kind of put his take on it. And I think he said in an interview that kind of what he did is he would take like whatever the vibe or the sound was of the times and kind of like fracture it and give people just like a new kind of perspective, a new angle on that.
He would perfect it.
In my opinion, in my opinion, but he just wanted to provide an alternative. I mean, he's kind of the king of alternative, the originator of alternative rock, because he was very conscious of what was going on, not just in the mainstream, but also the underground, and he would kind of fuse the two and just say, hey, here's an alternative to kind of what's going on.
Do you see some of his music like as mainstream, and do you dislike the mainstream?
Well, Bowie's interesting. He's always kind of had a foot in the underground and the experimental, and kind of like the otherness. But then he's always had another foot firmly planted in kind of the mainstream. And he's like a star, and he's a pop musician at the end of the day. I mean, it's popular music, but so people say he's enigmatic, and it's true.
Like, do you like the song Space Oddity?
I love the song Space Oddity.
Okay.
I think it's one of the best songs ever written.
Now, would that be so? Bowie fans aren't music snobs, because you saying you like that, I could see a big Bowie fan being like, "That's not ours. That
right,
the mainstream took that song from us. We don't like it anymore."
Yeah,
I sort of.
That's kind of how
like that.
Money from Pink Floyd. I hated that song for the longest time.
Yeah.
But now, whenever I listen to it, I'm like, that song is amazing.
Right. Yeah. I think that like mainstream radio and stuff like they can overplay things. I mean it's a very popular song, but
I've still good. If you listen to it, I'm not going to turn that song off.
Are we talking about Money, or are we talking about Space
Odyssey?
Okay.
I'm not going to turn that song off if it
Space
comes on.
Odyssey and Ziggy Pop. Okay, I was expecting you, honestly. I was expecting you to not that I wasn't expecting you to say I love that song.
No, I love that. And you know what? I love Let's Dance. I think that
I was
it's
gonna ask you about that.
quintessential 80s pop, not just 80s pop, but pure. I mean, it's just a great pop song, a great dance song. Whenever you hear it at a wedding or any kind of an event, people dance.
You can't. It's physical.
It is,
You
and
can't
it's
let that
and
song
it's-
pass you by
it's-
without moving.
it's like the bass is just so killer, and like those little like horn jabs that come in, like everything about the production is just like it's an epic pop song in my opinion. And the version most people hear, which is an edited like radio version, to me is not the definitive version. The album version is, I think it's like 7 minutes long or something, and it's just got these amazing horns, and Nile Rodgers from Chic is on there doing this really cool guitar stuff, and Stevie Ray Vaughan is on
Correct,
that.
yeah.
So it's that's an amazing song. I mean, it was a number one pop song, and it maybe some people would argue that's not quintessential Bowie, but for me it really is. It's an amazing piece of work.
Were you surprised by all the attention that his death created, or that arose? Because I was sort of. It was surprising to me how much coverage his death got. Like, it
I
was
was
on
surprised,
CNN, Fox News, everything. And I
think
know he's an
was
icon,
surprised.
but
yeah, I think I guess I was surprised how much he meant to other people.
I agree.
I always thought, we're few and far between Bowie fans. I mean, I'm a fanatic, but a lot of people were really moved. I mean, some of the tributes were really cool. Like, I read what Mick Jagger had to say. That was a great tribute. Keith Richards, Paul McCartney. I mean, just it was really cool to see the biggest names, some of the most well-respected artists out there, kind of pay tribute to him.
yeah, I
No.
expected it to be a one-day story, but it went well beyond
It's
that.
still going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
No, I heard this. This was years ago. But was he? What's the word I'm looking for? Was he the most wealthy rock musician?
I'm gonna say probably no, but he was certainly very, very wealthy. He was an amazing businessman. Actually, his friend John Lennon advised him kind of early on how to kind of handle his finances and kind of how to manage his managers. And early on, I think he dropped having like managers or like agents that were in charge of setting up his gig fees or whatever. He said, I can do this on my own. I want this much money to do this, and so forth. He became very savvy. He created what he called Bowie bonds. Like, people could buy into almost like stock in his catalog. And so that was like, he was the first to do that. And he was an amazing businessman, and he knew how to use media and manipulate media. And he had his fingers in so many different things. He wasn't just a musician. So yeah, I would say he was very, very wealthy, very good businessman, but probably not the richest. I mean, like, Jagger's got to have more. McCartney's got to have more than Bowie.
Well,
he
no,
didn't,
no rap artist is sampling Beatles songs.
I mean,
Just if you could probably find every rap album is sampling Bowie, especially. I mean, maybe not now, but definitely in 90s, 80s, 90s, maybe not 2000s rap. Almost every album had a Bowie sample. That cost money.
I mean, I think that his influence, in some way, might have been spread even further than artists like the Beatles. I think that he influenced so many different kinds of people, and that's one of the things I'm realizing with all the tributes coming out. Like, I couldn't believe, like Kanye West pays, tribute to David Bowie. It was like, but it just goes to show, just, how many different kinds of artists he, maybe not even necessarily inspired. Like, I don't know how inspired Kanye West's music is, by David Bowie. Maybe indirectly it is, but I think more than anything, it's just like a respect. It's like,
He didn't tour much, right? I mean, relatively comparative to most rock bands.
Well, he toured a lot in the 70s, and then he had two huge, really, really huge tours in the 80s. And then in the 90s, he toured a good bit, but they were like smaller club type things. But he didn't tour since 2004. He had a heart attack. Actually, he started to have the heart attack, I think, on stage somewhere in Europe, and I think that just kind of spooked him. So he, in the last 10 years, he did not tour at all.
When did is Bowie the first music you really got into? Like, did you start listening to him from a very young age?
I think I started listening to Bowie whenever I was like really seriously listening whenever I was maybe like 12, 13. But right before Bowie, I got really into Queen, actually. And I could probably thank Queen for really getting me into Bowie, because I heard the song Under Pressure and just really, more than anything, just really liked his voice. And I just wanted to hear more.
Are there songs you dislike of David Bowie?
Oh, man. I'm not wild about it. I'm sure it'll grow on me, but actually on the new record, which I love, there is one song that I tend to skip. It's called Girl Loves Me.
On the most current.
Yeah, on the most current.
Is it Black Star?
Black Star, yeah. And, but I actually played it on the jukebox at a bar last night, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I wanted to hear it again.
How do you usually listen to your music?
I usually have it blasting in my apartment through two big speakers. I recently had a note on my door from a neighbor that said, and it was actually very funny. It said, "Please keep the music, TV, and this is the best part, and singing down." So apparently, I sing very loudly whenever I'm listening to music, and yeah, that's true.
At least they said please, I guess.
You know what? They're well within the right to complain, and it wasn't like a nasty letter, but the singing part just cracked me up.
Yep. Yeah.
Would you like to sing something for us?
No.
No. Next time B-52s, we will focus on them, and then you can sing.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to our Charlie Chestnut inspired games here?
Yeah, let's do the
America's
games.
#1 game?
Let's do the games.
Yes, America's favorite game show, Charlie's favorite game show. We're going to see if you've been telling us the truth here, if you really are that knowledgeable on Bowie, or if you just were talking out your ass, which...
Bring it on.
You did mention quite enough information to let me know that you weren't talking out your ass, but let's see what we got here.
Let's prove it. And by the way, before we get started on these games, I want to say to anybody that hasn't really seriously dug into the Bowie catalog, because I mean, there's a lot of material. There's a lot of places you could start. The two you probably want to save for last, or maybe even avoid, are Tonight and Never Let Me Down.
Okay.
But in my opinion, the best records, like Ziggy's a classic, everybody knows, Let's Dance and so forth. But Hunky Dory, those are all classics. But in my opinion, and I can say this without any hesitation, my top 5 Bowie records are Diamond Dogs. To me, that's the first truly great Bowie record. Controversial, I know. And so I would say Diamond Dogs, Station to Station, Low, which might be his best and one of his lesser known maybe works. Low is amazing, totally groundbreaking. Scary Monsters. I think a lot of critics would probably point to that as being his best. It's definitely his most solid record. And then he put out one in the 90s that is just total mindfuck called Outside. It's a really great album. And then, of course, the new one is definitely up there, too. So.
Okay. You prepped, Andrew?
No.
So we're doing, like, a Name That Tune, or what are we doing here?
We're going to do a Name That Tune. And I was going to see, what do you think, 2 seconds? You think 2 seconds?
I think that's plenty of time.
2 seconds I can probably name.
This is it. I'm starting easy.
Okay.
I'm going to start easy, and they're going to get difficult.
All right. I've had about 3 beers here.
I can do it on my thing right
okay.
here. So.
And you get 2 extensions.
Okay.
You get an additional...
2 extensions or phone a friend.
Okay.
I could do phone a friend maybe.
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm
Name
ready.
that tune.
Let's Dance.
You got it.
I think
These
I
are
know.
easy. We're starting
Okay.
easy.
Okay.
All right. You want to keep score?
Yes, I
think
will.
I got 15 songs. That was number 1.
Okay.
Name that tune.
Rebel Rebel.
You got it.
All right.
You're starting.
You're doing it
layups.
before 2 songs.
All right.
Next song.
Young Americans.
Whew.
Whew.
Heroes.
Yeah. These are layups, so I know.
I'm
these.
starting easy.
Well, you're a third through.
I got 15 songs.
Well,
That was number what? 4?
that was.
Ziggy Stardust.
Jeez, what's next? The national anthem? Come on.
Starman.
Was that Starman?
That was Starman.
Okay. Getting a little deep.
I dig everything.
No, that's the first one where I'd been speechless.
That's from like
It's gonna
1966 or
It's going
something.
to start getting
Okay.
harder now.
Shake it.
Yeah.
Over halfway.
Yeah. Lady Stardust.
That's a great tune.
That's it.
She's got medals.
I thought you had them. That went to 1.5 seconds, I think.
What number are we up to?
Wow, these are like
5.
We're at
these
10.
are obscure. Wow.
Name that tune.
Without You.
That's right. Right again.
Song for Bob Dylan.
That's correct.
Superman.
Yeah, correct. Are they getting harder, at least?
They are. Yeah. That last one took me
Only
took
2
me a
left.
while.
2 left?
Life on Mars.
Damn.
These aren't that crazy hard. They're all from like the same
It's 2
4
seconds.
albums.
2 seconds. No, they're not. You ready for the last one?
Okay. Actually, I know what that is.
I do
that's,
too.
That's called Who Put the Red Sock in the Whitewash. Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
it is?
incorrect. That is incorrect.
That's not even David Bowie,
It's
is
not
it?
David Bowie.
You know what song that is?
I did.
I threw a mixer in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what this is. Sadly.
Terrible song.
I
I
don't-
really just wanted to make you laugh. So, you did get 14 out of 14.
Okay.
So you win the prize.
Nice.
And this really made me think of you. So, here's your prize.
Now, what are we looking at here?
All right, this is what appears to be.
A moo A
This
bunch
is
of
like-
a bunch of blow up dolls.
Yeah,
on
this is
tank
like a
top.
sleeveless woman's.
That's
like
beautiful.
blouse with blow up dolls on.
Well,
it.
you can wear that when you go to bed.
That's beautiful.
And the tag says "Let's,
Let's
rage.
rage.
That is beautiful. Where do you
Thank
find
you,
that?
Andrew.
That was actually a gift to me, but I will
Wow.
never wear that.
Okay.
It will never even come out of my
That looks
drawer.
very Charlie Chestnut.
Yeah. I hope I get a chance to get into some freaky shit with that.
Well, I'm very impressed with your knowledge of David Bowie song.
I am
That
t-
impressed me.
I am
2
t-
seconds each.
Yeah.
You knew it. I should have went to 1 second.
I was nervous. I thought maybe the beers would slow me down, but
Apparently, not even close to that.
yeah.
Maybe I should have went with some more obscure songs. That was
There were some obscure ones in there. She's Got Medals.
Yeah, I
Good
never
song.
got
I don't even know.
That's a great song.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I think I've heard that, listened to it the whole way through once.
Okay, now you can even play my game, Andrew, if you'd like. Now this is gonna be a little round of who said it, David Bowie or me.
Oh wow, okay.
Okay.
So these are they song quotes or
These
just
are
quotes?
no.
Just
These
quotes.
are quotes.
Okay.
You know, which I always found interesting how it seems that all these rock stars and famous musicians always have these great quotes. Now, you
Yeah.
think these are just probably plucked from interviews? Like, they don't sit around every day coming up with these crazy quotes, right? I mean,
Who knows? I mean, with Bowie, who knows? He was such a performer, but no, yeah, it's true. I think a lot of rock stars. There's a definite segment of the population that sees them as degenerates and definitely not intellectuals.
Mhm.
But the truth is, they're some of our greatest minds, I think. So
Well, as am I. So some of
All
these
right.
are mine.
no doubt, I
Okay.
would not argue that you
Can't
won.
wait to hear the inspiration I get from you.
What was that category we played?
Oh, I'm a categories whiz.
This category is genius.
Whiz.
Yeah.
Okay. First quote. I always had a repulsive need to do.
That's Bowie.
Okay.
Why would you just say the first two words?
Yeah, you get 2 seconds.
See
Two
if Mr.
words.
Chestnut
Yeah.
can get them.
Well,
read the quote though. It's a good quote.
I always had a repulsive need to be something more than human.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, you wouldn't say that.
Okay. Now, hey, that's true. That's true. Now, if you want to wait, you don't have to wait. If you can get it before I'm done, go for it.
Okay.
Otherwise, guess and then
Yeah, give
then
me a chance.
Then you can guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you know it, I'd say fire it off.
All right.
Okay. This one I assure you, you might know, because I say it all the time.
Okay. John Henry.
I'm an instant star.
John!
I'm an instant star. Just add water and stir.
That is Bowie.
Yeah, I gave that one away. That was stupid. Okay, we ready? I'd like to go back into space someday.
John said that.
Now, if I could have kept it together, would you have maybe guessed Bowie?
Hold on. Is that the whole quote?
Yeah.
That's you.
That sounds like something you would say, though. I'd like to go back into space someday. All right. So you're doing good. Whew. Okay. I'm going to keep it together here.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed that people like what I say seriously. Take what I say seriously. I don't even take what I am seriously.
That sounds something you'd say.
I'm gonna say Bowie.
That's a Bowie quote. Okay. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is start dreaming.
Mm.
John.
I'm gonna say John.
That's David Bowie. No, that's me. Oh man, that is me.
That is you. Okay.
Yeah, pretty,
That's a good quote. That's actually there's.
I was trying to think.
I like
on
it. That there's irony in there,
Yeah.
and
When you wake up, you're
See,
dreaming.
I thought it was
yeah.
deep enough that
It
you'd
is
be
deep.
like, that's got to be Bowie.
well, that's why I was torn. I just
Okay.
yeah.
Gay.
Dancing costs nothing.
Sounds something I would say.
That's you. That's you, John.
Bowie.
That's me. Okay. I've been out of my mind for over a decade now.
Bowie.
John.
Would you say, Steve?
I'm gonna say Bowie.
That's me.
Oh shit.
I'm not very articulate.
John.
You know what?
That's
I'm
definitely Bowie.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Bowie too.
That's
Yeah.
Bowie. Yep. I don't write my songs. We all write my songs.
You know what? I'm gonna say for the hell of it, Bowie.
John.
That's me. That's it. That's such a weak attempt.
No,
That's-
but listen,
that's
that
the
is
worst.
that is something Bowie would say. Really.
I don't write my songs. We all write my songs.
He had a great sense.
I tried to do this in Bowie's voice, but
Right.
did not work very well. And last one.
You're doing excellent.
Some songs you really don't want to write.
Bowie.
Bowie.
That is Bowie. I think you did them all except for the one you gave me, Charlie.
Mr. Nut.
So my game was a bummer because I couldn't keep it together, but I was trying
No,
to think of those in
that
the
was
voice.
good. That was very good.
Okay.
Still very impressed on your knowledge of Bowie.
It all worked.
Or Ziggy Pop.
Ziggy Pop and Iggy Stardust and the roaches from Jupiter.
Goddamn pompous ass.
Bowie.
Is there anything you'd like to leave us with here as we
Got any
sign
plugs? Any plugs? Where can we find you?
off? Yeah, plugs and
well, I'll plug.
parting words.
I'll plug where I work, adultempire.com. You should pay for your porn because that'll help keep us in business and keep my
Seems
job
like you
running.
guys are doing all right.
We're doing all right, actually. Yeah, we're growing. I don't know. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave people with anything other than yeah. It was good to talk about Bowie. It hasn't even been a week, I think, since he died, and I would just say, if you're a music fan and you have any curiosity, you should check it out. Even if it doesn't, touch you on the level that it has me or some other people, it's worth exploring. He definitely made life more interesting, and long live Bowie. And thank God, I just want to say, for the miracle of recorded music. It is such a miracle that just to be able to, excuse me, to record music and have it last virtually forever. And it's a relatively new thing that we have. It's like, people say, oh, the airplane or the computer, whatever, are the greatest inventions of all time. For me, it's recorded music. Being able to, in the comfort of your own home, just sit there and experience an album time and time again. It's fucking amazing. It's mind blowing. So yeah, long live Bowie, long live recorded music. Pay for your music, don't illegally download, and if you like an artist, support that artist, and long live the creative spirit. And I guess that's it.
I would say that sums it up. And
Yeah.
it was a pleasure having you here.
Thanks.
Love you too. Bye.